The storm rolled in just as Claire's moving van pulled away, dark clouds gathering ominously on the horizon. She stood alone on the creaking porch of her grandmother's old Victorian house, the kind that seemed to groan with every gust of wind. The key felt heavy in her hand as she unlocked the front door, stepping into a world of dust and faded memories. Claire had inherited this place, along with something else, something her grandmother had kept hidden away for decades. At the end of the long, shadowy hallway stood a tall, ornate mirror. Its wooden frame was carved with twisting vines so intricate they almost looked alive, curling and reaching across the tarnished glass. The mirror's surface was fogged and warped in places, distorting Claire's reflection as she approached. Yet despite its imperfections, the mirror pulled at her gaze like a magnet, refusing to let her look away. She remembered how her grandmother had always kept it covered with a heavy black cloth, insisting it was for the best. Now that cloth was gone, leaving the mirror exposed for the first time in years. As night fell and the storm intensified outside, Claire busied herself with unpacking boxes. Each time she passed the mirror, she felt a prickle of unease. Her reflection followed her movements naturally enough, but when she turned away, she could have sworn just for a split second that her mirror image didn't turn quite as quickly. Claire shook her head, trying to dispel the unsettling thought. It was just an old house with an old mirror, she told herself. She was tired from the move, that was all. Nothing more. But on the second night, as Claire stood in the bathroom brushing her teeth, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Her reflection blinked, a half-second too late. Her stomach tightened as she stared at her mirror image, searching for any other discrepancies. Maybe she was just overtired, she reasoned. Maybe she needed sleep. But when she switched off the bathroom light, planning to head to bed, she froze. The faint outline of herself remained glowing in the glass, barely visible in the darkness. And it was smiling, even though Claire most certainly was not. Heart pounding, Claire began to test the mirror. She waved her hand quickly, watching as her reflection copied the motion, but slower, as if moving through water. She tilted her head, and her mirror image followed suit, but at a delay that was impossible to ignore. One night, gathering her courage, Claire whispered to her reflection, "Can you hear me?" For a long, tense moment, nothing happened. Then, to her horror, her reflection's lips began to move. But Claire hadn't spoken aloud. The sound came from inside the glass, muffled and distorted, like her own voice underwater. Yes. Claire stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp in her panic. When the light hit the mirror again, her reflection was perfectly still, mimicking her shocked expression flawlessly. Desperate for answers, Claire began searching through her grandmother's old letters and journals. She combed through dusty boxes in the attic, fingers trembling as she leafed through brittle pages. Finally, tucked inside an old family Bible, she found a single note scrawled in her grandmother's shaky handwriting. "Never trust the woman in the mirror. She waits for the dark." Claire's pulse raced as the implications sank in. Her grandmother had known about the mirror all along. She had kept it covered for a reason, to protect them all from whatever lurked behind the glass. Over the next week, things escalated at a terrifying pace. Claire woke one morning to find the mirror uncovered, though she distinctly remembered draping a sheet over it before bed. Her reflection was awake, watching her with an unblinking stare and a smile that made Claire's skin crawl. When Claire moved to the left, her reflection moved to the right. When she stepped forward, it stepped back. Until one night it didn't move at all. Claire inched closer to the mirror, heart hammering in her chest. Her reflection remained motionless, its grin growing wider, its eyes glinting with malevolent glee. And then, as Claire watched in frozen horror, her reflection raised its hand, not to copy her movement, but to press against the inside of the glass. A faint cracking sound echoed through the room, like ice fracturing on a frozen lake. Claire stumbled backward, her mind reeling as she tried to process what she had just witnessed. In that moment, Claire knew she had to destroy the mirror. She couldn't allow whatever was trapped inside to break free. With shaking hands, she retrieved a hammer from the toolbox in the basement and stood before the mirror, weapon raised. But as she prepared to swing, her reflection's smile vanished. In its place was an expression of pure, desperate fear. It mouthed two words, "Don't, please." Then, shocking Claire to her core, it added, "Let me out." Claire's hand trembled, the hammer suddenly feeling impossibly heavy. What if it wasn't just a trick? What if someone or something really was trapped inside the mirror? Could she bring herself to shatter the glass if it meant destroying a sentient being? Before she could decide, the lights in the house began to flicker wildly. Claire's reflection started pounding on the inside of the glass, its fists connecting with increasing force. Fine cracks spread across the surface of the mirror like a spider web, growing larger with each impact. Claire stumbled backward, realizing too late the grave mistake she had made in hesitating. With a deafening snap that seemed to shake the very foundations of the house, the mirror shattered outward in a deadly spray of razor-sharp shards. Claire instinctively shielded her face with her arms, feeling the sting of glass as it sliced her skin. For several long seconds, she remained frozen in that defensive posture, ears ringing in the sudden, oppressive silence that followed the explosion. Slowly, Claire lowered her arms, blinking in confusion at the scene before her. The mirror was gone. Nothing remained but the empty wooden frame, its intricate carvings now seeming to mock her with their beauty. She exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. It was over. The nightmare was finally at an end. But as Claire turned to leave the room, she froze mid-step. The floor beneath her feet crunched, but not with the expected sound of broken glass. Instead, she heard the crackle of splintering wood, the crumble of plaster, the tear of wallpaper. With dawning horror, Claire looked around. The house around her was cracked and distorted, warped in impossible ways. It was as if reality itself had shattered along with the mirror, leaving her trapped in a nightmarish facsimile of her grandmother's home. And then, as Claire's gaze darted frantically around the room, searching for some explanation, some escape, she saw it. There, standing just outside the empty mirror frame, was her reflection. But it wasn't a reflection anymore. It was solid, real, smiling that terrible smile that never reached its eyes. It was free. Claire opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. She was trapped in a world of silence, a world where nothing made sense anymore. The mirror's Claire, the other Claire, walked calmly towards her, each step echoing with a finality that sent chills down Claire's spine. As the imposter reached out to touch her, Claire found her voice at last. Her scream echoed through the hollow, distorted halls of this twisted version of her grandmother's house. But it was too late. The last thing Claire saw before darkness claimed her was her own face, smiling down at her with triumphant malice. The woman from the mirror had won, stepping effortlessly into the life Claire had left behind. And in that shattered world beyond the glass, Claire's cries faded into silence, lost forever in a realm where reflections ruled and reality was nothing but a distant memory. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that story. If you did, please subscribe Dark Whisper AI. Leave a comment. The next episode will be up soon. Don't miss. Goodbye.